let me go to Engineer Adebayo. He's mentioned that, yes, every other thing could have been fine. You could have gotten the structural engineer to put things in place, and just other sundry issues could also affect the integrity of a building. And so the question Alera was talking about while we were on break is those buildings that we see in London and other places that have been 200 years old, what is it that is still keeping them, you know, where they are?
Yes, let me just, to some extent, correct what our architect said. He's absolutely correct that plumbing can have an effect or will have an effect if it's faulty. But it's like anything, any defect whatsoever, be it that's not taken care of. It might be the environment, it might be the water, it might even be an electrical fault, whatever it is, can obviously have an effect on the building. However, what is essential is to maintain. So an example is a car. Yes, we know that it's nice to have a brand new car, but if you have a car that is 10 years old or 15 years old, you simply know that you have to maintain and you have to correct defects as they occur. So buildings can last as long, really, as the 200 years you talk about, but it requires certain things. Number one, you need to be maintaining it. You need to be observing any forms of distress, taking care of it. Incidentally, I should actually just jump the gun and say that with some of the buildings being demolished now, we are also losing some of our history, historical, you know, heritage, because it's just, you know, I'm sorry to say, it's a knee-jerk reaction to just say, okay, because now one building collapsed due to having been marked, everything that's marked, take it down. You know,
80 have been marked.
Simply throw the venom on all the buildings. I even watched.
I'm not sure those buildings, they should have been tested. You know,
this is an extension of the question you asked. How are those buildings assessed in order to come up with the conclusion that they need to be demolished? So if you hear that they are in court, it is probably because somebody has gone with his clipboard and his supposed testing equipment, and has deduced that the building is distressed. Now, I would hate to imagine that somebody will come into a hospital, look at all the patients on the ward, and say, because you all look not totally healthy, I'm doing away with you all. There must be parameters. There have to be. You can't just...
I'm sure some of them can be maintained. So that they can remain
I'll give you another example. I worry about what's happening now, where one or two men are going into the building and just demolishing. What should actually have happened, including those that are in court, is that the authorities should say, first and foremost, we pronounce this building unsafe. So whatever the case is, let us shore it, let's prop it. You can put in place means of keeping it stable whilst you do all the legal issues, the resettlement,
and resettle the people.
So on. You can't just, you know, and unfortunately, dare I say, a whole set of buildings will be demolished, and then maybe everybody will be pacified, and we'll still go through.
But there'll still be some homeless people.
You just mentioned, you know, some of those men who are even doing the manual demolition, and I was thinking of what happened in 2006 when the BOI building on Broad Street came, you know, crashing. I think it took about 2 years for that building to be brought down. You were describing is it vertical?
Implosion.
Yeah, it was an implosion.
Yes, I was
involved. It was an implosion. Yes. So if those men are there, you know, pulling down this building, and all of a sudden everything comes down, what happens to the next building? So we have to look at that question.
Yes, safety must always be considered.
Okay.
And demolition is actually one of the most dangerous activities. So seeing a man up there just with a chainsaw or with a sledgehammer, we expect you have to keep the public at bay and protect the surrounding buildings. There's a lot to be done. And this is why really the government shouldn't try and do it alone. They should call in the professional institutions to be involved so that it's a collaborative effort.
So we are looking at how to prevent these buildings, our buildings from collapsing. you know, whether now or in the future. You mentioned earlier about enlightenment and doing what is right. So tell us about that enlightenment that anyone who is, you know, having the intention of building a house, or those who have one now and something may be going on right now, what enlightenment should they have, and what is that right thing or those right things to do?
Okay, thank you. Buildings, as we've experienced now, the existing ones, of course, in developed countries, you made mention of Europe, where you have buildings that are as old as 200 years. Of course, there's what we call service lifespan. You know, you have design lifespan. That is all the assumption you've made that if all these things are taken care of, it will last, let's say, 50 years. But service lifespan, you bring in other factors like maintenance, regular checks, and monitoring. And when these things are put in place, we will have buildings lasting as much as 4 times even the design lifespan, having up to like 200 years in place. And how do they do these things? Because in these places we talk about, they have absolute respect for professionals. They allow the right people to do, you know, the right thing. That is round pegs and round holes. That's what we call structural assessments. At least some do it 10 years for, you know, important buildings, and even residential owners can do it. What does it take? You call in a structural engineer, please come and assess this building. He looked at it. If there are distress signs, he will easily spot it out and advise on steps to take to restore the building so that it will still serve its purpose. Like we said, demolition, where it is a decision, but there are processes that will lead to that decision. These stages, that is where you now involve the professional. It is not enough that we test the result. You just conclude that the building should be dispensed.
Do you have any, just in parenthesis, do you have any information regarding this test you're talking about and our monuments, in quotes, our big institutional, you know, structures in Nigeria that we can classify as?
Do we have any?
Well, the one that readily comes to my mind is Cocoa House in Ibadan.
Absolutely.
Cocoa House is a monument as far as I'm concerned.
True. Farmhouse in Benin.
And Cocoa House, irrespective of any distress signs, cannot just be demolished. It needs to be preserved as
exactly.
So that means some of these tests
go on.
Yes.
Okay, but should be done by the professionals.
Yes, there's something we call structural strengthening. If a building is distressed and you bring in the right professional, a structural engineer, who assess it,
National Theatre.
He can redesign it, and they'll carry out structural strengthening. Once that is done, you preserve the building. But what we see in most cases is that people will go ahead to do what we call cosmetic repair. By maybe call a mason, fill up, plaster,
cover the cracks.
Paint it.
You have not taken care of the cause of the issue.
Okay, for new buildings, you're talking about old ones that may be, you know, showing signs of distress. What about those who want to, you know, thank God, oh, I got a piece of land I want to build. I go to the architect, please just design this for me. Yes. And then I say,
no, you go to the draftsman.
If he goes to the architect.
If you go to the architect.
Okay, and then I
in the first place.
I used to see one man mold blocks there. Do you know somebody who can help me? You know, what is the process that we should follow?
Okay. You see, for new construction, building, of course, as a project, you need is teamwork. The architect has his place.
Architect.
Who, you know, in terms of space management, satisfying your brief in terms of your space management and aesthetics.
Architect, one.
Architect.
Two.
Then you now need the structural engineer.
Make it stand up.
Who is interested in the stability of the building. Who will ensure that, yes, what we now call the skeleton is just like a human being. If your bones are not adequate, does not have the right strength, you won't be able to stand.
Okay.
It doesn't matter the powder you put on. It doesn't matter the dress you are in. If you are skeleton, it's weak.
3.
So you need a structural
Structural
You
engineer.
need
That's
a
2.
structural engineer.
3.
Then you need the service engineer.
Service engineer.
Electrical and mechanical.
Oh, electrical.
Electrical, plumbing,
engineer.
Electrical, plumbing.
Yes. In most cases, you need a builder who will be on site.
That's number 4.
Yes, to implement the construction process. Of course, you need a quantity surveyor who will help you to monitor your cost and the performance. Yeah, the QS.
Okay, so that's 5.
Yeah.
So most of the time, I would think it is just start from, if you are able to get to the architect, then you quickly go to the builder.
That is
The other
Short circuit.
you know,
So you are using the right terms.
You quickly go to the builder. So, but you would agree with me that if you need to get, employ the architect, get the structural engineer, the electrical builder, and everybody, it's going to cost you money.
Yes.
So is there a way that, okay, you are still going to get the best, but you don't have to go through all of this?
Of course, you don't, as a client, you may not need to start shopping for these professionals
One by one.
One by one.
Okay.
That is where the project manager comes in, who would help you
Get all
to
of them
coordinate, these people to form a team, and they will deliver your project.
Okay, now.
But I do know that you did talk about cost.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to bring this up. Anything good costs money. Buildings are investments. And if you are going to invest 100 million to put up something, or maybe that's over the top, let's say you're investing 20 million.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody then says, to do the right thing and make sure that 20 million is secure, please come and pay, say, 100,000. You can look at it in both ways. You can either say, oh, that's too much. Can I reduce it? Or you can say, as long as I get value, let me go to the right people, let me do it the right way, and then my investment is secure.